Thank you very much for that introduction. My background is in media, and I've had the good fortune to be involved with World Horse Racing from the start. Today, I want to share with you the approach to audience engagement of what has become one of the most successful horse racing social media brands in the world, in the hope that it might help you engage with your audiences and your customers. World Horse Racing launched on May the 22nd, 2018 as an international digital media company established and founded by four iconic racing brands: Ascot Racecourse, Breeders' Cup, Goodwood Racecourse, and the Victoria Racing Club. And in 2021, we were delighted to announce that the Hong Kong Jockey Club had also taken a stake in World Horse Racing, adding to the group's firepower, further growing our reach, our access, and most importantly, expert collaboration, particularly across Asia. Our mission was, and still is, to grow a global digital audience for horse racing by telling, for the first time, the sporting, personal, and lifestyle stories behind elite international Group 1 thoroughbred racing. Until now, so much of what is written and broadcast around racing is to do with prediction. Who's going to win? Who you're going to have a bet on? This is no surprise. There are around 20 million search queries per month associated with horse racing betting, and racing media is brilliantly optimized against delivering that content to fans. But our research has suggested that there's also a huge audience worldwide looking for a deeper understanding of the sport and the colour around its stars. So we built an editorial strategy to engage these fans across all the major social media platforms with content that resonates on an emotional level to build empathy for our sport. Much of our time, our success has simply been to turn the camera in the opposite direction to the racing. For example, in our first year, we had a target of reaching 60 million video views, but we did this with one video, which in truth was a bit of an experiment. Blue Point at Royal Ascot. We juxtapositioned two videos as a split screen, one on the race and the other one with the camera filming Blue Point's groom. The passion and elation as Blue Point runs that race and then eventually wins is really emotional to watch. The video was picked up across the world, and huge volumes of engagements and shares saw it resonate with social media's algorithms, creating a massive network effect. Today, it is still the most viewed single piece of social media horse racing content in the world, with approaching 100 million video views. So when we launched World Horse Racing, we hoped that there'd be a market for our approach, but very quickly, videos like this showed us that we were onto something. Our editorial output has focused on the distribution of short-form video content across all the key platforms. And to date, World Horse Racing videos have been viewed over 850 million times. During 2022, we delivered an average of 20 million video views per month. We have a combined 2.75 million followers across our network. World Horse Racing is also resonating well with its audiences. Typical engagement rates for posts are around 11% compared to sports averages of 5%. And social sentiment for World Horse Racing content is way beyond average at about 90% positive and 80% joyful compared to sports averages of 72 and 52 respectively. And we're also proud to say that we continue to deliver on our international mission. Around a quarter of the views are from the USA, 20% from the UK, 15% from here in Australia, 17% from Japan, with India, Hong Kong, UAE, Ireland, Brazil, and France making up the lion's share of the remainder. That audience growth in scale and engagement has also led to commercial successes. Brands tap into our expert creative team and our access to the sport to create social content that they can distribute across their platforms, that we distribute at scale across our international audiences and across our platforms and our network of stakeholder and our broadcast partners. We then supply analytics back to the client to illustrate how successful campaigns have been against their KPIs. Our audience growth can no doubt be put down to some good fortune along the way, along with an immensely talented content team and the support of our incredible stakeholders, for which we are very grateful. If you haven't seen World Horse Racing content, do go onto your social media platform of choice and search for us. And here's a short video of what you can expect to see.
I'm not a movie star, I'm only a jockey, everything's under control.
He's back to his best, baby! Yes! He's a sprint winner!
Gold trip, he's going to win the Lexus Melbourne Cup!
Ryan Moore at his very best.
Good morning, I'm Zach Vincent, and welcome to Royal Ascot.
Everyone's just putting their best foot forward after a few years of lockdown, and they're just celebrating.
If you had a horse running in the derby, what would you call it?
Breaking Badass.
To all the fans on World Horse Racing, my name is Mario Kumalo, goes by the name of Bling.
Hi, I'm John Velasquez. And I'm Mike Smith. It's about the tip.
That is crazy.
Life is good. It's like one of those trick cups.
Oh!
This is our Triple Crown Hero American Pharaoh.
That's the thing about horse racing. One horse can change someone's life.
Unbelievable. You seem to be my lucky charm, World Horse Racing. Thank you very much for following. We love you all. Thank you.
So hopefully you can tell we also have quite a lot of fun doing this stuff as well. But underpinning everything has been our approach to understanding and adapting to audiences. So what's the closely guarded secret of that success? Well, it's research and analysis. I appreciate that's a bit of an anticlimax, but everybody in this room has either crunched the numbers or has a team that does audience insight. But we've discovered that league tables of popularity have their limitations. For World Horse Racing to grow a sustainable audience, we wanted to understand motives. We wanted to visualize our users in a way that would take us beyond age and frequency of attendance, or simply whether one form of content outperformed another. We wanted to understand how people feel about horse racing, especially those who are yet to fall in love with the sport. What first steps do they take when engaging with the sport? And what are the barriers to engagement for general sports fans? Although we launched as a social-only media outlet, we've always been fortunate to be in the position of being able to call upon three sources of audience data, two of which are somewhat unique to World Horse Racing. Search demand, this clearly isn't unique to us, but there's a wealth of tools that will deliver this data. But its broad availability doesn't reduce its value in understanding audience intent. Stakeholder research, well, we've got the backing of 5 of the world's biggest racing brands, and they're very kind enough to share some of their research findings with us over the years. And social analysis. Our scale means that we're rich in behavioral data across all the social media platforms. And because we've been going for nearly 5 years, we've had plenty of time to experiment and find out what doesn't work and what does work, a bit like that Blue Point video. Each of those research resources helped shine a light on a specific light on the answers to our questions. What first steps did users take when thinking about the sport? How do users research the sport's heroes, both human and equine? What are some of the barriers in engaging? And what are some of the differences in age, gender, and attitudes across the globe? What consumption patterns tell us about how those audiences segment? And what are the differences in performance in types of content from platform to platform? Those three sources combine to suggest that our potential audiences fall into one or more of 5 groups. Racing enthusiasts with an interest in global horse racing, sports enthusiasts with a passing interest in horse racing but keen to know more, equine lovers, love horses, probably ride, but have yet to engage with racing, social racegoers who lack an intricate knowledge of racing but attend the events for the overall social experience, and celebrity and fashion fans who are interested in the glamorous side of racing but not necessarily in the sport itself. We think that international elite Group 1 thoroughbred racing is a thrilling, fascinating sport, and we want as many of those groups to feel about it in the same way that we do. Each research resource helped begin to answer some of the questions that we had about their attitudes and needs. So what follows are thoughts that are prompted by our analysis since launch. What first steps did users take when thinking about the sport? A blend of search analysis and stakeholder research revealed that the industry would be well served to dig deeper into the first steps that people take when thinking about racing. What does a structured welcome to the sport look like for, say, an NFL fan? How do users research the sport's heroes? Our search and social analysis suggests that potential fans are hungry for heroes. That's no surprise. It's a need that applies to just about every popular sport. Question is, does racing deliver? Are we learning from the examples and the techniques of the English Premier League or Formula One, for example? And what are some of the hurdles that fans face in engaging? Stakeholder research and search analysis points at perceived barriers to falling in love with horse racing. In some parts of the world, of course, as we've heard, horse welfare is seen as a concern, as is the perception of the boisterous behavior of attendees. The challenge then becomes to either recognize that those perceptions are real and deal with them, or where they're misplaced, counter them. Our videos around horse welfare in our sport, for example, are some of the most best performing in the portfolio. And what can we do to extend the sport beyond race day? If we're to appeal to a new generation, they'll not limit their expectation of racing to start and end with the race day itself. So the question becomes, how can we make the excitement of the sport available on tap, wherever they are and whatever they're using? To Gary's point, what physical and virtual experiences can we imagine? So what would I ask you to take away from this? Well, if you're reliant on one source of audience data today, get more. We're fortunate enough to be able to call on 3 resources on a regular basis. But while you may not be in a position to replicate that, there are commercial and open source resources that will help you build a rounder picture of your customers and audiences. Budget for experimentation, trial, and especially error is not a sign of failure. It's absolutely essential. Since 2018, we've tried most things. We've failed with quite a few of them. We've had a lot of arguments. But from those experiments have revealed invaluable insights into how audiences will react to things. So if you're not trying something new, do. And then lastly, data's great, but understanding motive is better. Don't think in terms of number-led league tables. Spend the time working out what patterns you can derive from the data that will reveal what your audience is trying to do. Have in your mind's eye a picture of your user and the points in their lives where you will be an invaluable partner. I hope that's been of some help. Thank you very much indeed.